Hey, peace and blessings, everybody. It's your brother Sorry back with yet another one. As always, peace to the ancestors. Love y'all. Miss y'all. Appreciate everything. Peace to the true and living. Who is the true and living? If you've been watching this, following along, riding down this rabbit hole like a roller coaster, um, you must be the true and living. Peace and blessings to you. Um, Peace to the gods, man. Thanks for tuning in to another installment. We're going to do another little piece here in regards to the electric soul, just to kind of add on to our little journey down this process and this extended thought experiment that we're doing as far as the electric soul. So, with no further ado, today we're going to go over okay, energy exchange, sexual union, promiscuity, and pregnancy, right? So, energy exchange, two physical bodies exchanging energy. Now, we kind of talked about that in the previous video um, where we spoke about the various ways to increase voltage as a human being. We talked about the ways to increase voltage. One of the ways that we talked about was the tantric way, the one where you have two people involved or whatever. That's one of the more powerful ways and everything. Also, a very detrimental way, um, should it fail, because when the field collapses on that one, you have trauma that can potentially be developed and everything like that. So let's kind of get into that. Okay, so so the bioetheric feedback loop, that's basically what we've been talking about. Go back to some of the previous videos. I'm not going to bog this one down too much with the explanation of what that is. Um, we've been dealing with the premise that the body is electrical from the research of Robert Becker. We've been filtering it through the framework of Tesla's physics, which do not include the electron. That's more field-based and includes the ether. All right, we've been dealing with Pascal Beverly Randolph's idea that the soul is an electrical phenomenon. So we kind of put all that together um, and kind of been corresponding that with some of the stuff from the experiential. And we've come up with this framework for the electric soul. Um, so we're going to go in within the bioelectric feedback loop model. The soul is conceptualized as a non-local. The analogy I believe for the soul was like, when you back your phone up on the Google Drive or the server for Apple or what have you, and you can buy a million iPhones, you can buy a million Androids or whatever case may be, and every Android that you buy is gonna be, you can download all your specifications from the server. Well, the soul is likened unto a spiritual server, an electrical phenomenon still. So it's electricity in a different phase outside of what we're used to or what have you. But it's basically on a spiritual server. So no matter what happens to the physical vessel or what have you, it doesn't completely extinguish the soul or what have you. Now there is a feedback loop from the soul or blueprint to the physical individual, and we went through that on numerous videos. So within the let's see here, within the etheric feedback loop model, the soul is conceptualized as a non-local high potential informational blueprint. Yes, it is. The blueprint carries the accumulated energetic potential in specific configuration known esoterically as sanchita karma, accumulated past lives. We went into the video Go back into the video about melanin and the human biofield. We go into some of Eileen Day McCusick's stuff, and she does extensive work on the human biofield, and she talks about how memories and things like that can be stored in the human biofield. Okay, which dictates the parameters and challenges of the current life, referred to as prabardha karma. I know I'm mispronouncing words. That portion of accumulated karma currently bearing fruit. The blueprint sets the energetic potential and constrains the physical manifestation. We use the example, if you are Jack the Ripper in this lifetime or whatever, in the next lifetime you've as Jack the Ripper, you've altered the blueprint by doing so much dirt. So in the next lifetime or whatever case may be, you have to deal with the adjustments to the blueprint that you did as Jack the Ripper. You might be John Smith in the next life or what have you. Okay, so the query relates to the concept of reincarnation to the cellular mechanism of de-differentiation and, and reclassification. Okay, we went over all that. Just kind of like a brief review. Went over the reflection principle. Check that out in another video. Okay, so electrical dynamics of sexual union and energetic exchange, right? So we have projective and receptive polarity in bioelectricity. Okay, so in this framework, we're exposed to the fact that men and women are not the same. I repeat, men and women are not the same. Energetically, electrically, we are not the same. Okay, so the man is more like the modulator transmitter type deal, the positive frequency, literally. And the woman, as we're going to see, is literally like the receptive frequency or the capacitive or the capacitor or the battery, right? And over time, as we're going to see, if she's absorbed so much trauma from the various partners that she's been with, it's hard. The more trauma she absorbs, the harder it is for her to bond with a new partner or what have you. The capacitor, the battery starts to get full, in other words, or what have you. In psychology, that's likened to being unable to pair bond with a new partner or what have you. So energetic polarity provides the fundamental framework for analyzing the electrical nature of sexual union, right? Energetic polarity, male and female. Polarity is not strictly linked to the biological sex, but describes fundamental complementary universal forces often labeled masculine, projective, and feminine, receptive energy. In electromagnetics, these correspond directly to the electric projective and the magnetic receptive components. So the female is magnetic, the male is projective, right? He's polarizing, right? The projective energy is characterized as active, electric, and outputting. Its function is to define a focused field requiring persistent aggression, right? In the sense of drive, like the energy of Mars, astrologically speaking, and the ability to enact high current. Conversely, the receptive energy is magnetic, inert, like the ether. You see what I'm saying? And the active principles like the prana, it's vibration, it's motion, it acts upon the ether. Okay, so in inert and drawing inward, its function is one of capacitive storage, right? Capacitive storage, like a battery, requiring openness, vulnerability, and the ability to attract and contain energy. The ability to attract and contain energy, right? So this would be why there's an analogy of, you see what I'm saying, in many of your stories and fairy tales and things, the virgin or the maiden is assumed to be a sought after thing or whatever case may be, because the battery in theory would be empty. It wouldn't have any, it would not be used up or whatever case may be. You see what I'm saying? The tension created by the optimal alignment of these two highly polarized forces, the basis of powerful attraction and energetic exchange in relationships. So these polarities and these energies are the basis for energetic exchange in relationships. And when I say these things that I'm saying or whatever, like I say, that's the purpose behind us looking at a lot of this stuff from an energetic perspective. So I know a lot of things when it's discussed in certain ways or whatever, we may get triggered or whatever case may be. So now with some of this framework, we can kind of take ourselves outside of I don't know, some of the social type of conditioning or whatever, and we can look at things from a energetic, electrical perspective and everything like that. So dual voltage multiplication, the alchemical circuit. Okay, so this is a portion of what we spoke about when we talked about voltage multiplication in a dual sense between two partners on the tantric side of the game. Okay, sexual union represents the attempt to merge. Sexual union represents the intention to merge these complementary bioelectrical fields into a singular, unified, temporary circuit, right? Successful energetic exchange. So this is the goal of Tantra, right? increase the voltage, create one circuit, and that circuit has more power than both of um, the constituent circuits combined and everything like that. And when they separate from this temporary union or whatever, each individual one gathers something from that. Okay, so successful energetic exchange requires a profound degree of physical and emotional alignment, enabling synchronization. So you have to be, in order for you to, um, I don't know, attain this union with someone, you have to be able to, now tricking off is something different. And we ain't talking about tricking off. We ain't talking about none of that. Okay, we're talking about the legit way. Okay, so not the shortcut way, So actually building a bond with somebody, talking to them, getting to know them, finding things that you all have in common, kind of getting in sync with that person, your likes and dislikes, things of that nature. An effect demonstrated even in neurological studies where partners' brains and heart rhythms can synchronize during shared experiences. Shared experiences, going out to dinner, something as simple as watching a movie, spooning, or something like that. You did. So that synchronizes your breathing. You spooning with your girl or whatever, that's synchronizing y'all breathing. Y'all biofields are synchronizing and everything like that. The esoteric principle of dual voltage multiplication describes a synergistic effect achieved when two highly polarized yet optimally aligned individuals complete this circuit. From an electrical engineering perspective, coupling in an inductive projective force with a capacitive receptive force, a man and a woman, and bringing them into resonance, right, results in a massive amplification of oscillatory potential, far exceeding the simple sum of the individual parts, what I just said. So a man and a woman coming together and having a functional, emotionally fulfilled relationship or what have you, it creates a field that's more powerful than both the individual parts of the field, right? The sacred union or hierogamos is not merely physical intimacy, right? But an alchemical process. So it's more to it than just, you see what I'm saying, two people just getting together and doing whatever. When polarization and alignment are achieved, the combined field strength, the voltage, and coherence multiply, accelerating the feedback loop, right? So remember how we talked about in previous videos, you got to have coherence first before you can multiply the voltage. Once you achieve coherence, that's the base state, and then you can attain higher voltage and everything because the system can sustain the higher voltage. Okay, so this highly charged state permits the unified circuit to access and transduce Bishop from the X-Men, etheric energy, divine light with profound efficiency, resulting in an influx of non-local information and temporary state of rapturous remembrance or gnosis, temporary state of gnosis. I would assume that would be the orgasm. This energetic amplification represents the maximum acceleration achieved within the bioetheric feedback loop framework through partnership. Okay, so let's see here. Uh, so basically, the orgasm is described as the influx of non-local information and a temporary state of rapturous remembrance or gnosis. So, orgasm is likened unto gnosis. As we get into some of this stuff, we're going to get into the notion that sexual energy and spiritual energy are the same thing at just different phases of the energy, different frequencies of the energy, and everything like that. So, energetic transfer, promiscuity, and imprints. Okay, let's get into this. So that's some of the fun stuff that everybody like to talk about. Let's get into some of the stuff that people might not want to talk about. Okay, energetic transfer, promiscuity, and imprints. Sexual connection facilitates a powerful, comprehensive, energetic exchange, including consciousness, emotional states, DNA, and trauma, right? Because sex is recognized as one of the highest forms of energy exchange. Sex is recognized as one of the highest forms of energy exchange. All my Twitter people and IG people, the act functions as a deep merging of energetic boundaries. Okay, so so this is one of the reasons why we even cover stuff like this or what have you, because sometimes we always have to remember that this, regardless of whatever personal experiences that we may have with the opposite sex and everything like that, we have to remember that we come from a community of people, right? So we come from a community of people and everything like that. So whether I have issues with, the opposite sex or not, or whatever my grievances may be, you see what I'm saying? That's something to be discussed in private or what have you. Um, because me, I don't know, coming out, not saying that there are not legitimate grievances on both sides or what have you, but me speaking on that, I don't know, in a certain light or what have you, um we're in a community of people or whatever. So it may be some little girl coming up or whatever that's not even at a dating age, not even at the age of dating, and she don't have no bearing in what I'm talking about. And all she hears is another black man saying that he don't like her or like black women and stuff like that, and it holds a certain. I'm doing the same thing I'm telling you about or whatever, generating trauma in an individual. You see what I'm saying? So that's one reason why not saying that there ain't grievances. We get back to the call, we can have some choice words and all that good stuff. But right, in the open, in the presence of, you know, my young gods, my young goddesses, you see what I'm saying? I ain't really going into all the grievances. We're going into this, what it entails energetically, promiscuity, and how it imprints things on you. So this may be the stuff that nobody tells you. You see what I'm saying? This is the power. You see what I'm saying? When you see all these people, I know nowadays, sex is paraded around, and a lot of um, advertisement and I don't know, imagery is sex is in the lead. They're leading with sex and stuff like that. But we want to be responsible. You see what I'm saying? When we discuss stuff like this and kind of go into like not from the feel good aspect that everybody got. You see what I'm saying? I think the feel good part of it is overly marketed. You see what I'm saying? I think we should address certain things like this to balance out the feel good part of it. You see what I'm saying? So we can kind of have a counterbalance, so we can operate in the feel good with a level of responsibility. You see what I'm saying? So that's my little in video rant, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, sexual connection facilitates a powerful, comprehensive, energetic exchange, including consciousness, emotional states, DNA, and trauma. Because sex is recognized as one of the highest forms of energy exchange, the act functions as a deep merging of energetic boundaries. When an individual shares intimacy with multiple partners, they are effectively taking on pieces of energy, which can include unhealed trauma and residual energetic traces from those partners' past associations. All right, let's read that again. When an individual shares intimacy with multiple partners, right? And what we call in promiscuity. You see what I'm saying? Being a hot girl summer and all that stuff like that. This is what's marketed to our young ladies out there, or whatever case may be. They are, and I'm not thinking from a perspective of, a dude in the dating game trying to date women. I'm thinking from the perspective of an uncle, of a cousin, of a brother, all that stuff like that. So sometimes you gotta put on different hats when you viewing the women in our community. You see what I'm saying? It's not realistic to think that you gonna have a sexual relationship with all of them. I mean, come on. I mean, yeah, that's kind of wild. That's borderline narcissistic. So, some of them got to be your sister, some of them got to be your auntie, some of them got to be your mama. You feel me? So that's just some food for thought. Um, and this don't absolve women from accountability when they do things or whatever case may be. Right is right and wrong is wrong. This ain't saying that women can do no wrong. That is not what I'm saying by any stretch of the imagination. And there's nothing wrong with having certain conversations to hold certain people accountable. But if we do that, we must do it respectfully, because there are children watching us and seeing our conversations. So that's just another portion of my in video rant. So When an individual shares intimacy with multiple partners, they are effectively taking on pieces of energy, which can include unhealed trauma and residual energy traces from those partners' past associations, a phenomenon akin to inheriting energetic change. Inheriting energetic change. This non-discriminatory merging is often termed energetic promiscuity, right? Energetic promiscuity, okay? By consistently violating the energetic boundaries of the self, the individual surrenders self-containment and autonomy, resulting in the absorption of discordant emotional and energetic signatures, right? The absorption of trauma transfers energetically. This process pollutes the individual's foundational biofield, right? Or aura, right? We already said that the human biofield is a medical term, right? We beyond all the pseudo talk. Okay, leading to a demonstrable decrease in overall vibrational frequency. The result is the locking of the bioetheric feedback loop into a state of chronic negative charge. And what we say about how you feel about yourself, you're gonna attract certain situations to you. The ether is resonant. It's resonant in nature or whatever. So how you feel, it's gonna resonate with that and draw something similar or reflecting how you feel back to you. Okay, so meaning stable high voltage coupling difficult, making stable high voltage coupling difficult in future relationships. The inability to peer bond, right? Because you got to remember, women and men are not the same. Women are a battery. Women are like a battery, and that battery can fill up, and it's harder to connect. The absorption of trauma transfers energetically. This process pollutes the individual's foundational biofield, or leading to a demonstrable decrease in overall vibrational frequency. The result is the locking of the bioetheric feedback loop into a state of chronic negative charge, making stable high voltage coupling difficult in future relationships. The lack of discernment ensures the resulting trauma and foreign energy residue become integrated into the recipient's system, right? You're locked into a negative loop. Now think about somebody who may have been abused or something like that. Um, went through certain trauma and everything like that. From a perspective of astrology, a person can look at your natal chart and tell, based on your natal placements, you see what I'm saying, that you've been, through certain levels of trauma, or you have certain proclivities to certain taboos and everything like that, or whatever. So again, this is at the moment you take your first breath. You see what I'm saying? So this is before that even happens, but it's a energy in that direction or whatever, or momentum in that particular direction. So differential impact on projective versus receptive systems. The consequence of energy promiscuity differs based on the individual's fundamental electrical orientation, right? So based on the individual, the effects or the consequences of energetic promiscuity may differ. Okay, impact on the receptive orientation, the woman. This is how energetic promiscuity affects women. The receptive system functions as a magnetic capacitor, a magnetic battery, basically. Its primary role is to draw in, store, and ground energy. When exposed to multiple discordant chaotic energy blueprints, multiple partners who are chaotic, and y'all looking for the bad boys. You feel me? That's the thing. Okay, so multiple chaotic um um energetic imprints. The capacitor becomes saturated. The battery becomes full. You see what I'm saying? Or in the sense of, yeah, the battery becomes full. It can no longer absorb any more charge. Okay, the overload is analogous to dielectric breakdown, right? Severely degrading the system's signal to noise ratio, right? The resulting symptomatic manifestation includes difficulty maintaining a stable emotional core. So after being with so many guys or what have you, absorbing their trauma, it's hard to bond and have a meaningful relationship with the next dude, or a dude that you might actually genuinely like, or may need to deal with, or whatever case may be. Confusion regarding personal boundaries and the involuntary manifestation of relationship patterns reflecting the residual trauma absorbed from previous patterns. Now go back into the video where we talk about the reflective principle, bio-etheric reflective principle and everything like that. And we talk about how you feel about yourself mirrors how you feel about other people mirrors how you feel about yourself and everything like that. So you're gonna try to attract people who, if you feel, if you've been abused or you've been traumatized or what have you, and you have a level of low self-esteem, and you've gotten to the point where you've convinced yourself that that's what you deserve. You see what I'm saying? Um, you're gonna attract people into your world that treat you like you feel like you deserve. You see what I'm saying? That's, you're gonna attract people. If you feel like you need that boot on your neck, or you feel like that's what you deserve, you see what I'm saying? Because you've been traumatized and abused, however that may go. You see what I'm saying? I'm just painting an example. I mean, I know this is a sensitive subject, but you'll attract people to put the boot on your neck, for lack of a better way of putting it. Okay, so the impact on a projective orientation, a man. The projective system functions as an electrical inductor or transmitter. It projects energy outward, or whatever case may be. Its role is to input, excuse me, is to output, focus, and define the field. Promiscuity in a man. Okay, this is what happens with promiscuity in a man. Promiscuity leads directly to the diffusion and depletion of focused potential, right? Sustained, unfocused output without a stable capacitive mechanism results to a leaky circuit, leaking energy. I think we've talked about that. That's similar to like having holes in the energy or what have you. The ability to generate and sustain a powerful high voltage field is diminished. Um, and that's an interesting thing, because for guys who know, guys who kind of been in long-term relationships before and everything, um realistically you just get more done. You see what I'm saying? I mean, don't get me wrong, you can get stuff done by yourself, not saying you can't or whatever. You just have to be more organized or what have you, but you can get a lot done with your significant other, because the question often comes up, okay, what does your woman bring to the table? The woman creates the environment. You see what I'm saying? Okay, the reason why we can't discern what the woman brings to the table in our modern society is because relationships are transactional, in the sense that they're based on finance or whatever case may be. But when relationships were based on what we talking about in this, emotional bonding, you see what I'm saying, which is how you raise the voltage. You don't raise the voltage by being a gold digger. You raise the voltage by the emotional bond that you actually have with the dude. The dude, you actually like the dude. You actually into the dude. When you get into your dude or whatever case may be, you find out what the stuff that makes him tick, and the stuff that motivates him, and the stuff that he likes. Let's say he's trying to, I don't know, set up a home office or some sort of operation or whatever case may be. You know what I'm saying? One day he comes home and you just got his whole setup, you see what I'm saying, neat and orderly the way he like it or whatever case may be. Stuff like that. Women create the environment. A woman adds stuff that men don't think about. A man would live in a man could live in a cardboard box, right? But women beautify the environment. They add little things that we don't think about. You see what I'm saying? So that's a part of what a woman brings to the table. And like I said, when you ain't thinking about I don't know, pursuing women, that's one less thing to think about, because you got a stable relationship or what have you. And you have this, so it adds to whatever your situation is. It adds to your level of creativity, adds to your level of progression, because it's stuff that you don't have to necessarily think about, stuff that you needed that you didn't know you needed. Okay, another in video rant, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so symptomatic manifestation involves a loss of focus drive, inability to establish and maintain strong directionality, and energetic depletion, which prevents the individual from maintaining the necessary polarity required for high attraction relationships. All right. You don't have the energy necessary, or you don't even desire to go through the effort to um, you know, attract new women and kind of do the things that you need to I don't know, court them, as it were. You see what I'm saying? You become burnt out. You see what I'm saying? I think a lot of men have, in the modern era have done that. I'm not, I don't know, pointing fingers at anybody for anything anybody got going on. I'm just kind of sitting this right here in contrast. You see what I'm saying? Okay, so let's see here. Okay, the bioetheric feedback loop in reproduction, gestation, cost, and regeneration. So this is another section of it. Okay, let me see if I'm missing information. I ain't missing nothing. I ain't missing none. Uh, yeah, I don't think we're missing none. We good. Okay, so voltage implications in the 9-month birthing process. Okay, so bioetheric feedback loop in reproduction, gestation, cost, and regeneration. Gestation is an intensive process of biological creation within the mother and developing child form a singular interconnected bioelectric circuit. Physiological data indicates a profound maternal fetal coupling demonstrated by synchronous cardiac rhythms. So the heart rate of the mother and heart rate of the child kind of synchronize. Critically, the fetal autonomic nervous system, which governs the child's future stress regulation, begins its development under the direct influence of the maternal system. Maternal psychosocial skills, stress is transferred physiologically to the fetus via steroid hormones, specifically cortisol. Cortisol being a steroid hormone diffused directly across the placenta and affects the fetal hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, the primary neuroendocrine stress center. So the stress of the stress of the mother, not only like how we talked about, generate systems situations in the mother's life, but the stress of the mother is also fed to the baby, and the stress of the mother being fed to the baby will conversely, like how we talked about in the previous video, probably result in certain levels of trauma and generate inadvertent situations in his life via a causal connections. Okay, moving right along. Okay, so the biochemical transfer is the manifestation of a more fundamental energetic process. The fetus is developing electrical architecture, particularly the vagus nerve and the autonomic nervous system. We talked about that in the previous video. The vagus nerve is basically the pathway between various different major um, nerve processing centers that correspond with the gut, the heart, and the brain, that also correspond with the three dantians in Taoist tradition. The vagus nerve and autonomic nervous system is calibrated by the mother's energetic field and voltage stability. The coherence and frequency of the maternal field, shaped by the emotional and mental fitness, set the child's default voltage baseline. So let's read that again. The coherence and frequency of the maternal field, how the mother's overall field, and we've talked about what composes this overall field, shaped by her emotional and mental fitness, right? uh, whether, she might have been traumatized previously or something, or been through some traumatic experience as a child or whatever, that shaped her whole path in life. And now when she produces a child or whatever case may be, that is going to be infused into that child as well. So that's just something to consider. I mean, we all go through things in life or whatever, not judging anyone, but just making that correlation. Okay, so shaped by her emotional and mental illness sets the child's default voltage baseline and the sensitivity of the energetic regulatory system. A mother experiencing chronic high intensity stress imparts a high, unstable voltage baseline to the fetal system. Um, it makes me think of a crack baby. You know what I'm saying? To be honest, you see what I'm saying? If I know some of y'all, man, young people, I don't know if y'all familiar with what that is or whatever, but yeah, a mother experiencing chronic high intensity stress imparts a high, unstable voltage baseline to the fetal system, predisposing the child to sympathetic overdrive, anxiety, high reactivity, right? The a lot of men, you see what I'm saying, who are familiar with the ethics of manhood, oftentimes our younger counterparts, you see what I'm saying? We often um, note the high level of reactivity. A lot of times we equate that to them being raised by women. But according to this, that just comes from them being birthed by a particular quality of woman who has had certain experiences in her life. That's what this would suggest as well. Okay, so predisposing the child to sympathetic overdrive, anxiety, high reactivity in postnatal life. This calibration process establishes a critical karmic setup for the new organism, energetic costing chronic mitochondrial DNA deterioration. Okay, so what we established on previous videos was that we have nuclear DNA and we have mitochondrial DNA. The nuclear DNA has a level of repair efficiency. It can repair itself. The mitochondrial DNA, not so much so. So mitochondrial DNA, like we said, we always make the correlation to Star Wars. Midichlorians in Star Wars. Midichlorians are the components of in their blood that allows them to sense the force, right? Um, Comparatively, mitochondrial DNA is the powerhouse of the cell. You see what I'm saying? We said cells are like semiconductors. Mitochondria are like semiconductors. You can say almost batteries of a sort, or whatever case may be. The mitochondrial DNA, as it deteriorates or what have you, deterioration of DNA would suggest disconnection from this etheric blueprint or the soul, like what we're talking about. And disconnection from this etheric blueprint would suggest that the body no longer understands how to renew itself like how it was in the original blueprint. So that's why when you're 65, you don't look like you're 25. You're losing connection gradually with the original blueprint or whatever. So your body can't regenerate itself exactly how you were originally, or whatever case may be. Mitochondrial, and this is how we arrive at the aging process, right? So, okay, so the biological imperative of creation and maintenance during pregnancy and lactation constitutes a massive, sustained energetic drain on the maternal system. Okay, so this is the cost of this, and this isn't to deter women from having kids. This is to kind of like outline what's going on. I mean, I know y'all go to the doctors, y'all women, y'all familiar with y'all bodies more so than I would be as a man, but I'm just laying this out from an energetic perspective. I'm sure any older woman will tell you the more kids that you have, the more it's taxing to your body and your constitution as a woman. You see what I'm saying? It takes something away from you, each one, or whatever. Some of y'all develop certain um I don't know, conditions, the more kids you have, because it takes something away from your body. So I'm not telling you nothing you don't know, but we're just coming from a different perspective. Um, uh, the biological imperative of creation and maintenance during pregnancy and lactation constitutes a massive and sustained energetic drain on the maternal system. So it drains the woman's body to have a baby. This process exacerbates the inherent vulnerability of the cellular powerhouse. This drains the mitochondria, right? And like how we said, um, let's say what refuels the mitochondria. We were talking about red light or near infrared frequency light that refuels the mitochondria. So that might be something maybe to assist in, females kind of regenerating after maybe a pregnancy or something. Talk to your doctor, do your own research. I'm not a doctor or anything like that, but I'm just, based on some of the other studies and research that we've done, that might actually be something that might assist in that. Mitochondrial DNA, which encodes vital proteins for ATP production, the cell's electrical generators, is highly susceptible to damage from sources like reactive oxygen species and critically possessed limited DNA repair mechanisms compared to nuclear DNA. So mitochondrial DNA can't repair itself like nuclear DNA can. The deterioration of mitochondrial DNA is the source of the aging process. We talked about that. Studies suggest that uh, following double strand breaks in mitochondrial DNA, the primary cellular response is degradation of the damaged molecules rather than successful repair, right? The chronic deterioration of mitochondrial DNA across successive pregnancies represents a progressive cumulative energetic cost. So basically, after every pregnancy, I would suggest that, you know, take, besides the regular whatever y'all do, y'all think, as far as getting your body back, some of the energetic stuff that we've been talking about, or um, some of the other methods or whatever, I would say basically employ multiple vectors to get your body back, because it's kind of like it's more than just a physical thing. As far as, I don't know, your belly fat or something like that, it's it's an energetic thing. It's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it's a lot of drain that takes place with that. This reduction in cellular energy production efficacy is manifested physically as chronic fatigue, right? Accelerated aging, right? And disease predisposition, what we just talked about, fundamentally destabilizing the integrity of the body electric, which is Becker's system. The body electric, he has a whole book called The Body Electric. This chronic loss of voltage capacity demands a profound countermeasure to maintain systemic voltage viability. Right. So that's that. So that's kind of what I've been saying the whole thing. The Bio-Aetheric Feedback Loop model proposes that nature employs a radical self-sacrificial feedback mechanism to counteract the cost of mitochondrial deterioration. Fetal uh, microchimerism is the presence of persistence of fetal cells, often with high multinage stem cells, like potential within the maternal body for decades after delivery. These cells migrate across the placenta and integrate into various maternal tissues, including heart, brain, liver, and skin. They are frequently observed migrating to sites of tissue injury, such as Caesarean section scars, where they differentiate into repair cells like keratinocytes and express collagen. So another thing I know a lot of people take collagen. The red light makes the body naturally produce collagen because it's a connection between the near infrared light and hydrogen. So the effect of being under the near infrared light is it has similar effects as if you saturated the body with hydrogen. So if you saturated the body with hydrogen, one of the things that it will produce from that is collagen. So that's just FYI for my ladies trying to get their thing together, get their groove back. Yeah, you did. Okay, so let's see here. I'll go into the next section. Okay, karmic linkage, a causal connection, and the reflection principle. So we talked about the reflection principle on a previous video. Energetic connection to paternal figures. Okay, so let's see. The energetic connection between a child and his parental figures reveals a critical distinction between foundational electrical potential and active systematic resonance with the bioetheric feedback loop. Okay, so he's talking about the difference between a father and a stepfather. So the connection of your actual dad is kind of irreplaceable, in a sense, because that's where your genetics come from. So you walking around with that individual in you. But at the end of the day, um, the stepfather um, is very significant in the sense of the fact that a stepfather, you can establish resonance, or that with the stepfather, or the stepfather can establish resonance with the child and everything like that. And it that's why a lot of people say, okay, well, you know what I'm saying, I didn't have my real dad, I had a stepdad and I turned out all right or whatever. That's kind of that whole thing, whatever. That's a resonance. That's the resonance situation and everything like that. So that's the difference. Establishing a aspect. Some people are closer to other individuals than they may be with their own father. That might be the resonance aspect. You see what I'm saying? The biological father constitutes half of the genetic blueprint, thereby establishing the child's fundamental cellular structure and settling the initial electrical parameter, the core immutable potential of bioetheric feedback loop. This connection is tied to the child's deepest karmic inheritance and lineage charge. The attachment, so connection tied to the child's deepest karmic inheritance and lineage charge. So you're gonna inherit a lot of your karma from your dad, whether you ever met this person in your life or not, a portion of the situations that you go through in your life is probably going to mirror some of the situations maybe that your dad went through, or something of that nature. Same thing with your mom, however it may go. Sometimes you inherit patterns from these people. The attachment to a stepfather, however, operates primarily through the reflection principal mediator. Empirical data suggests that adult children sometimes report stronger relational closeness with stepfathers compared to biological fathers, despite the absence of genetic link. This difference illustrates that while the biological father sets the potential voltage, right, the stepfather establishes an active resonance current defined by the child's present need for external feedback. So that could also be, I would say, the actual father being there would be that resonance as well as that voltage potential. So that would be the best case scenario. But a stepfather, which could still provide um, I don't know, significant voltage as far as the relationship is concerned, or coherence as far as that relationship is concerned, by establishing a level of resonance with the kid, defined by the child's present need for external feedback. If the biological father is emotionally or physically unavailable, the core karmic lesson must still be resolved. The stepfather often manifests acausally, right, as the physical reflection of the specific energetic pattern required by the mother slash child system for immediate healing or progression, right? So the stepfather might be some sort of acausal um, um, result of something psychological that the mother and child both need. You see what I'm saying? If that makes any sense. The stronger relationship, and when I say that, you know what I'm saying? Because somebody gonna come in there and tell me they're gonna manifest them a man, and that ain't what this is about. I'm not. I, Brother Asar don't teach manifestation. I don't knock it. You know what I'm saying? I don't knock it because that's what some people's bread and butter is. But Brother Asar don't really teach manifestation. However, I don't rule it out, and I'm not saying it's not a real phenomenon. As we can see, the ether has a resonant property to it, so that is a thing. However, there are other factors um, at play, causally, that would steer us in the direction of why we want the things that we want anyway. You see what I'm saying? So you see what I'm saying? So that manifestation in my mind is a mixed bag. However, it is a thing in certain scenarios. Okay, so the stronger relationship, I, I'm not banging on manifestation, but if I tell people to sit down and manifest stuff, I'm gonna get some lazy people. So for those of you that are mature enough to deal with that, you see what I'm saying? Respect. You see what I'm saying? It is a thing, but I don't advocate manifestation because I don't want to encourage any laziness. You see what I'm saying? All right. So the stronger relationship observed signifies a more effective engagement with the active, dynamic feedback loop, allowing the child to process the necessary emotional curriculum rather than the remaining constrained by the static yet unaddressed potential set by the um, biological father. So let's see. Bio-Aetheric Feedback Loop translates the fixed electrical blueprint karma into manifested reality through the mechanism of synchronicity. Carl Jung defines synchronicity as the acausal. This is what Carl Jung say. Acausal connecting principle describing events that coincide meaningfully, yet lack a discoverable causal link. Not A plus B equals C. You see what I'm saying? Isn't that how quantum computers kind of work? They do stuff like that where A plus B don't equal C. Well, this is something like that. Okay, this provides the mechanism by which the non-local blueprint, and all my computer programmers don't beat me to death with the specifics of it. I understand about qubits and all that, and I know it's more bells and whistles to that. But I'm just saying, quantum computers deal with acausal situations based on their logic and stuff like that. Okay, so this provides the mechanism by which the non-local blueprint communicates its required lesson to the physical organism. In esoteric systems, karma defines how intent and actions influence future consequences, right? Intent and actions influence future consequences. Within the bioetheric feedback loop, unresolved psychological issues and trauma, such as the emotional weight of witnessing a divorce as a child, right? Okay, create a persistent, measurable negative electrical charge or discordant frequency within the biofield, right? Okay, so we're gonna talk about in another video when we talk about we're gonna get into human sacrifice, right? Um, just as a case study, you know what I'm saying? Um, and we're going to talk about the difference between a honored sacrifice and a terrified sacrifice. The difference. So um, this is situational as far as the individual is concerned, because some people might have the parents might get divorced and it might not be a terrible divorce. It might not be that bad for the kid. In other scenarios, it may be different or whatever. So that can cause a negative electrical charge or discordant frequency within the biofield. The manifestation of synchronicity often involves events of statistically minimal probability of occurrence. The bioetheric feedback loop asserts that the acausal connections are the direct translation of the karmic message. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. So the situations that goes back to what we call the language of situations. The acausal situations are manifestations of the psychological trauma and everything like that. So just covering some of that stuff or whatever case may be, some of that what we just talked about, the dad, stepdad, all that stuff like that. I'm not telling nobody, just as a disclaimer, I'm not telling nobody, how to deal with their relationships. I'm just saying these are the energetic implications of whatever relationship that you may be in, or if you're witnessing something like that, you're seeing that dynamic or whatever, this energetically is what that looks like. If you want to be somebody's stepdaddy, that's your business. If that's not your preference, that's also your business. Don't have a dog in the fight for you. Okay, so um let's see. Let's see. Okay, statistics and acausal connections. The trauma loop, the persistent internal electrical distortion caused by unresolved trauma. The persistent internal electrical distortion caused by unresolved trauma. So this is stuff you've been carrying for years. You know what I'm saying? Whole complexes that you got in your head, manifested as persistent anxiety, relational difficulties, or self-worth issues, lack of self-esteem. You know what I'm saying? Well, Cat Williams say you got self-esteem is esteem in your mother self. You feel me? So however it go. But self-worth issues acts as a chronic signal that the bioetheric feedback loop activity projects outward via the reflection principle, right? So persistent internal electric distortion caused by unresolved trauma, crazy situations caused by unresolved trauma, acts as a chronic signal that the bioetheric feedback loop actively projects outward as a reflection via the reflection principle. Basically, the language of situations that Brother Sarr been telling you about for years. The internal negative charge attracts and generates external situations, language of situations, synchronistic events that statistically reinforce the internal disorder. What you keep encountering events, you know what I'm saying? You pissed off and you wish an MF would, and people keep cutting you off in traffic, man. People keep trying you. You know what I'm saying? Because you see what I'm saying? Okay, so for example, an individual with unresolved childhood abandonment trauma will repeatedly attract partners who embody abandonment patterns. So a person who has childhood abandonment trauma, um, having that trauma, that may be subliminally what they feel like they deserve. So they're gonna go find a person that's gonna give them what they feel like they deserve. So they're gonna find a partner that gives them that, or whatever case may be. In this language, they feel a particular way about themselves. So their field is going to produce that frequency, and the ether around them is going to resonate at that same frequency, and it's going to draw something to them of that same quality. basically. The manifestation functions exactly like the dream interpretation of a child witnessing a divorce. Remember, we were talking about waking dream interpretations, where the emotional wound is replayed in adult life until the meaning is fully integrated. So until this psychological stuff is resolved, the situations that you experience are going to correspond. The language of situations that Brother Asar was telling you about years ago. This repetitive negative feedback loop, although experienced as suffering, is the karmic mechanism for resolution. Remember, the fabric of reality has a tendency for self-assembly and self-healing. The acausal connection compels the individual to repeatedly confront the internal energetic distortion. Successful confrontation allows the individual to neutralize the negative electrical charge, leading to systematic stability and the establishment of a new higher voltage equilibrium within the bioetheric feedback loop. Okay, so unresolved trauma, that's negative voltage differential discord. Its external manifestation would be attraction of mirroring dysfunctional relationships and situations, right? So unresolved trauma is going to give you mirroring situations, dysfunctional relationships, and the acausal mechanism outcome, negative synchronicity, reinforcement of the lesson until confrontation is forced. Remember how I told you before that God never shuts up? God don't never shut the hell up. And God has infinite patience for your and my lack of understanding. Right? Didn't Brother Sar tell you that? Okay, so ain't that what that say? Until you get it, until you figure it out, these situations gonna keep happening, right? Keep to continuously go to prison. That's recidivism, what they call it. It's a word for that in that context of that. Okay, so coherence, healing, stable voltage, high frequency output, attraction of supportive environments, and aligned relationships. Right. Remember how we talked about in the experiential, honoring yourself, because that's going to be the barometer, the difference between these dysfunctional relationships and aligned relationships, honoring self. Because if you honor yourself, if you operating off of that particular principle or whatever case may be, you're not going to dishonor yourself with no kind of dysfunctional stuff. You see what I'm saying? You're not even going to deal with it. You see what I'm saying? Positive synchronicity, validation, and acceleration of the intentional path. Okay, so in conclusion, all right, um, let's see here. Bioetheric feedback loop synthesis and nuanced conclusions. Bioetheric feedback loop successfully integrates physical electrophysiology with non-local energetic dynamics. The human body functions as a highly sensitive semiconducting antenna, okay, receiving informational mandates from the ether. Sexual union represents the temporary merger of projective and receptive electrical polarities, male and female, capable of achieving profound, dual voltage multiplication and accelerated energetic transmission. Promiscuity introduces disruptive, non-coherent foreign charges, leading to capacity saturation in receptive systems and depletion in projective systems. So, energetic saturation in receptive systems and depletion in projective systems. Reproduction imposes a massive energetic burden via chronic mitochondrial DNA degradation. So basically, um, all those things considered, um, for a woman, probably the less partners you have, probably the better. And this ain't judging nobody because we are products of the world we live in or whatever. I ain't got a dog in the fight in the decisions that anybody's currently making or has made. That ain't my business. But just putting this right here, based on what we've kind of run across, the less partners a woman has had energetically is probably the best for her. I'm giving you the what's in it for you. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm I'm probably never I might not never meet you. So I'm giving you the what's in it for you. As a woman, the least amount of partners is probably better because you're energetically um you're a battery, and the dual um aspect as far as a relationship voltage multiplication is one of the more powerful um methods or whatever. And as a woman, to actually be able to qualify for that or whatever case may be, you would not have had to have you would have had to have very, few partners and everything like that or whatever. The less trauma that you've encountered or whatever case may be, probably the better for that bonding or that coupling. As well as the idea of having children, having multiple kids or whatever case may be, for whatever reason, you see what I'm saying, that'll deplete the body. If that is the situation that you fall into, look into some sort of replenishment and regeneration for your body or what have you, so you can live long. If that is not the situation that you're in or whatever case may be, choose wisely. Choose wisely, because you can't afford to make a bunch of mistakes, because every time you make a mistake, it's going to cost you your energy, your body. You see what I'm saying? So that's just food for thought. Not judging anybody. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm talking to you like your cousins, sisters, family, or whatever case may be. Like I would talk to them. You see what I'm saying? Okay. So reproduction and pose of a message. We talked about that. Let's see. Finally, life events, relationships, and statistical anomalies are dictated by the Bio-Aetheric Feedback Loop's reflective principle, utilizing synchronicity as the acausal mechanism to convey the karmic message, thereby forcing the resolution of internal energetic imbalancements. Right? Okay. Achieving high voltage coherence, systematic regeneration. Okay. Let's see. Based on the bioetheric feedback loop framework, systematic regeneration and the stabilization of energetic potential require focused action on three primary fronts: field integrity, physiological recovery, and karmatic resolution. Okay, one, conscious energetic discernment in union, like kind of what I was just talking about. To maintain high voltage coherence, individuals, especially those with receptive orientations, women, must exercise extreme discernment in sexual union. The integrity of the energetic capacitor must be protected. The integrity of the energetic capacitor, the battery, your body as a woman, must be protected by preventing the absorption and storage of discordant or low frequency energetic imprints, aka trauma, from partners. For projective systems, discernment ensures that energetic output remains focused and grounded, preventing dissipation of core potential. Same thing I just said. Activating electrical and stem cell regeneration. Okay, that what we just talked about with the fetal cells and all that. Resolving the karmatic charge and trauma loop. The most critical long-term requirement is identifying and neutralizing the chronic psychological trauma that functions as the negative voltage differential in the bioetheric feedback loop. Resolution requires internal awareness to stop projecting the distortion outward. You know what I'm saying? Conscious effort, conscious awareness of the pattern, and conscious effort to stop projecting the distortion outward via the reflection principle, thereby interrupting the cycle of the pattern of negative synchronicity and transforming the karmic lesson by integrating the emotional message. And the bioetheric feedback loop shifts from an exponential, unstable, positive feedback loop into a stable, high frequency output state, negative feedback maintenance, allowing the manifestation of positive, supportive, acausal connections. Amen. You feel me? So yeah, that's pretty much what I had for today. I hope everybody got a lot out of it. I know in this type of material, we like Charlotte Lowe used to say, I'm on the sidelines trying to stay in bounds, you know what I'm saying? I ain't trying to judge nobody, or because everybody has varying different situations that they're going through, varying decisions that they made. Like, everybody's wired different. People are like snowflakes, so everybody is different. So you know, I ain't got a dog in the fight on your personal situation. Just putting that out there for the benefit of some of my younger viewers. So as they walk into certain phases in their life, they kind of see the gravity of what they're facing in their decision making. You see what I'm saying? So again, um you know, I don't proclaim to be no saint or nothing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to be responsible in this video because I know potentially young people may be watching and everything like that. And like I said before in a previous video, it's not for us to try to be like them. My generation, I'm speaking about the middle generation, is for us to kind of instill things in them and kind of like give them certain games so they won't make the same mistakes that we might have made. So with that being said, man, I appreciate y'all for checking me out. If you like what you've been hearing, like and subscribe, man. Got some more um some more of this fire to pump through your speaker. Y'all stay tuned. Peace and blessings. Peace.